Get ready for a powerhouse of inspiration. Principal Baruti Kafele. A highly regarded educator and a transformational leader, Principal Kafele has spent over 20 years in New Jersey's urban schools, making a lasting impact as both a master teacher and a turnaround principal. Under his leadership, the mighty Newark Tech transformed from a low-performing school to one of America's best, as recognized by U.S. News and World Report 3 times. A recipient of the prestigious Milken Educator Award, Principal Kafele is one of the most sought-after voices in school leadership and equity. He's delivered over 3,000 keynotes, workshops, and seminars across the nation, authored 13 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers, and continues to empower leaders through his live-streamed AP and New Principals Academy. Please join us in welcoming the extraordinary Principal Baruti Kafele.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 289 consecutively of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got checking in this morning. We got AP Patrick Lawrence in Connecticut. Arlette Johnson, if you missed, she was recently on. So if you missed that, scroll back about 2 or 3 weeks and you'll see her with my other guests. But that's Arlette Johnson in Connecticut. Nadira Coley is checking in from Newark, New Jersey, right here in Newark. We got Michael Benton in Cincinnati, Ohio. We got where we at? Constance Sherrod is in Pearl, Mississippi. Yolanda McKinney is in Texas. We got Dr. Rachel Edo Eckett. What's she say here from United? Good morning from the Maryland United Conference. Wow, in Ocean City, Maryland. Good stuff, good stuff. I see you on your skates getting it done. We got Rodney Richardson in Hampton, Virginia. Grace Castaneda in Kyle, Texas. Dr. Sonia Matthew is here. If you missed that broadcast recently with her, she was on with Arlette Johnson. Check it out. Scroll back. It was powerful. It was powerful. We talked about the AP. We're getting ready to get into the little AP stuff today too, man. I can't get away from my assistant principals. Takesha High is in Virginia. Dr. Robin Snowden, Harambe from Fresno, California. Fire. We got Nolene Martin, North Texas. Leslie Akintunde, Sterling, Virginia. Lysandra Brackens is in North Carolina. Leanne Litton said good morning. Peter Finch down in Yakima Valley, Central Washington. Where we at? And I should say the school district. He's superintendent in West Valley School District number 208 in Yakima, Washington. Rod Laws, Greenville, North Carolina. Where we at? He's in the gym right now. Trap Gym in Greenville, North Carolina. Yeah, I'll be back in Jersey City tomorrow. I'm in Houston, Texas right now, but I'll be in Jersey City. I'm gonna get the miles in before them football games. I'll tell you that. We got Justin McMillan. Where we at? In Colorado. Where we at? That's my man too. Good to see you, Justin. You know, where we at? Janine Gordon is in the building. Sharon Rivers is in Miami. I know it must be nice down there weather-wise because it's like 80-something right here in Houston. So you go further south in Miami. Chancellor Davis is in Tampa, Florida. Same thing. Stacy Joy, L.A. Probably same thing there. Otis Kitchen, Principal Otis Kitchen. All these warm weather folks, man. Tampa, Florida. Principal Tammy Taylor. She's in Atlanta via South Carolina. So you in some warm weather. Stacey Ann Barrett, Nola. All these warm weather people, man. We got the South in here heavy. New Orleans, Louisiana. We got the Dr. Shakirah Houston. I should have said the Dr. Tammy Taylor. So the two of them represent and create and educate. And then we got there's Ricardo Giannis, my man, Houston. I'm down the street from you, Ricardo. Come on out here and take me to lunch, man. Nah, I got to get out of here when I finish my keynote later. Where we at? We got Sean Hurt. Let me pause it right there. First let me give the lineup. We got every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, Facebook Live, YouTube. We got Sean Hurt, the turnaround principal, followed by Create and Educate with Dr. Shakirah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor, followed by the AP and New Principals Academy with yours truly. And then we shift over to Sunday night, 6 o'clock Eastern, and that'll be Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno, and that's the PGP podcast. But looking at Sean, man, I had a chance to be around Sean this week, be with Sean. I was in Ypsilanti. I thought it was Ypsilanti. It's spelled with a Y, but it's Ypsilanti. I was in Ypsilanti for 2 days under the leadership. Man, I'm trying to say so many things at one time, right? Of Dr. Alina Zachary Ross. We got to get her on here soon too. And just had a great 2 days out there, man. But my man, Sean Hurt, came out, man. He had his wife and his son out there. I got to meet the fam, some of the fam. The daughter's down in Tuskegee, but I got to meet the son, Caleb. And what a great gentleman, right? I just got to say that. His son, Caleb. Sean's great too, but I want to focus on his son right quick. His son, Caleb, man, you could just, he's got an aura about him, right? And I don't say that about everybody. He's got a little aura about him. He's a good dude, and I see big things happening in his life, right? So shout out to Caleb, shout out to Sean and his wife for how you raised this young man. I know this young man's going to do the big thing. He's already in early childhood. He's already in early college program, so he'll get his associates before he gets his high school diploma. So he's doing his thing. His sister did the same thing, and they're doing good things. So shout out to them. To the Hurt family. It's a lot of y'all on here, man. I ain't gonna get to all of them, but I will say shout out. Let me recognize Tracy Cooper. Gotta recognize Tracy Cooper, man. I see you, Marsha Poe. And let me see if there's any other Jersey folks on here that I need to just holler at. I think we good, man. I see Gene Separano Wilkins. That's my buddy out there in Anchorage, Alaska, doing big things. I gotta shout her out, man. Let's go, y'all. We got a lot to talk about today. So let me say to everybody, good morning. It's what time is it here in Houston, man? It's 10 o'clock. These people should be awake, so I should be able to give it a little volume. So good morning, greetings, welcome to week 289. Man, I had to catch myself a minute. 289. You've been sitting in front of this computer for 289 consecutive Saturdays. That's like crazy. And you know how I always do it, consecutively. Woo, that's a lot, man. In all these notes, I'd be right. Like I could see if I was writing all this stuff up and I got that nice check coming later on. Ain't no check coming, man. It's just writing this stuff up. It's like I start Wednesday. So I'm writing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then get up early Saturday morning, then went downstairs and watched my man Tommy Mabry, Dr. Tommy Mabry, do a keynote here in Houston at the Mega Conference National Literacy Institute, right, under the leadership of Dr. Ingrid Haynes. Then dash back up here, welcome my guests. Man, I'm the hardest working man you ever seen in this business, man. Average person ain't gonna get up and go see their friend do a keynote early when you got to do this. I got up super early, like I got 5 hours sleep in me, right? Got up super early, went down to see him. He tore it up, and then came on back up here. So that's how you got to do sometime, man. That's what it is. That's what it is. Dr. Rachel Ederock said, incredible grit. That's what it is. It's incredible grit, baby. Right. So let's jump into it. I got my question. How y'all doing this week, man? How you doing? I ain't gonna get political with it because if I kept it political, we go in another direction. But I will say, I ain't gonna get into the elections this week, just my own state. Because if I get into the other elections, then I'm probably being perceived as being political. But thank God in New Jersey that the folks came out, and particularly in Essex County, which is where I'm born and raised, man. Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill, right? We needed that, man. I ain't getting political. I'm just going to say, if we needed that, I needed that, baby. I needed that, right? Particularly considering the opponent. I needed that, right? So I'll stop it right there. Some of y'all be getting mad and signing off. So here we go. Somebody might have said, let them go, Kafele. If they mad at that, they ain't with you, right? Hey, y'all, but let me ask you right quick. What were your wins last week, man? I'm gonna remind you of that every week. Oh, Darren Freedom Green, I see you. I see you. And good to see you. I see all your videos, though. That's my man from down in Trenton, right? He said, now we take the mayor's chair in Trenton. I got to look that one up and see what that means, right? So, hey, y'all, what were your wins last week? Drop them in the chat, man. Because, see, it's easy. You get caught up into the losses. I say that all the time. You get caught up, oh, man, I'm stressed out over this. I'm burnt out over this. This is going on. This is going on. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Is this really what I want to do? Am I going to do this for the rest of my career? I'm only 35. Oh, my God. I don't know if I can endure this. I'm here to say to you, I could spend the whole session just on, let's talk about your wins. And I bet you everything I own that your wins surpass your losses. I bet you that. But you so wrapped up into the losses that you forgot you were winning all week long. And then my other one, what will you do next week that takes your leadership to new heights? Right? What will you do next week that takes your leadership to new heights? Hey, y'all, I shouldn't be telling y'all this, man. No, I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you next week. I can't tell you this right now. I ain't letting this cat out the bag. I'll tell you next week, right? I know my wife's saying, don't tell him right now. Yeah, this ain't the time, man. I'll tell you next week. We're on week number 290. All right, y'all, my announcements real quick. Shout out to My Brother's Keeper, MBK, New York, the biggest My Brother's Keeper, branch, affiliate, chapter, the biggest My Brother's Keeper chapter in America. New York State puts millions of dollars into My Brother's Keeper in New York. And part of the My Brother's Keeper for the fellows, the seniors, they have to give a speech every year, right? Every new senior class has to give a speech on, it's tied into the experience of being part of My Brother's Keeper. And they see it not robbery for me to come in and train those young men every year. I train them virtually. I train them on public speaking. But you know me, I ain't locking into no script on public speaking. We on there talking life, right? And how communication, oratory, public speaking ties into life. It would do my heart well if I knew that one of the mentors or some of the young people were on here live with me. But again, shout out to them. Shout out to Dr. Aniel Austin for he's the Assistant Commissioner of Education in New York State, and it's his baby, My Brother's Keeper. Everything My Brother's Keeper in New York falls under his leadership. He's been a guest on here before. I'm sure he'll be back because he's got a new book coming out as well. Also, shout out to Ypsilanti Community Schools under the leadership of Dr. Alina Zachary Ross. Man, we had a great 2 days. They allowed me to speak to young people. They allowed me to speak to parents. They allowed me to speak to all the teachers and allowed me to speak to all the administrators. That was 2 days, just 2 big days of being out there with them. You know, they right off of Detroit. Just what is it, a 10-minute drive, something like that, right? So right off of Detroit, and they're doing big things. But Dr. Zachary Ross is particularly doing big things. She's an extraordinary superintendent. She was supposed to be on here like a month ago, something like that, and something happened. I ain't gonna get into it. Something happened. Sean Hurd said I killed it. He said I brought the fire. Yeah, you know, it was one of them things with the parent group. It was a smaller group. It wasn't like a packed auditorium. So I sat down on the foot of the stage and said to the PowerPoint, later for you. You know, so you know, when you and someone like me that got a lot to say and you say to your PowerPoint, later for you, that means folks ain't never going home, right? So I went an hour over. Let's say that. We were talking stock market, right? We were talking investments and real estate. We were talking. Don't get me started. I might do that right here. You know, so it's like, you know, we talked the parent thing. We did. But then I said, but let's talk some life, man. Because some folks don't know that your money can work for you. We buy, man. I feel like I'm getting into that thing I did the other night in Ypsilanti. Let me cut this short, man. But I'll just say this. But sometimes, you know, we buying stuff, man. We buying stuff. Oh, I'll go to the mall. Oh, I want that thing. Oh, I want that thing. Right. But what about the investment? That's what I was talking to them about. The investment, man. right? So the investment into securities, and let that money go to work for you. Man, I ain't gonna get into dollars and cents, but it's a beautiful thing when them statements come in the mail. I'm like, man, I made all that money and I ain't do jack. So I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying. I ain't saying I'm rich and wealthy. Don't get me wrong. Depending on how you define it, right? But I am saying it's something about when them statements come in and you ain't do nothing. Your money just went to work and you're like, man, I made 20 grand this month. That's what I'm see. I had to throw a little number at you because some of y'all think I'm playing. I made 20,000 in a month and I ain't lift up a penny. See, so all right, let me step off this, man. I got 2 guests and a keynote, right? So enough. If I piqued your curiosity, maybe we'll do a nighttime session one day and we'll just talk about that, right? All right, let's go. First timers, I appreciate you being here, but don't let this be your last time, right? This is week 289. That means you missed 288 sessions. So go to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell and be a part of the 24,600 subscribers that we have. Can you imagine that number? 24,600 for a non-celebrity. The celebrity, they got millions. I'm just a kid. I'm just a kid from Jersey City via East Orange, right? But 24,600, that means if I took all them folks to a Knicks game at Madison Square Garden, 4,600 ain't getting in. 4,600 are not getting in the arena. That's the magnitude of that subscriber list. Make sure you're a subscriber to the AP and New Principals Academy. Let's go. Hey, real quick, y'all, man, because I got some numbers in. I ain't going to give you these numbers, but I want to put this on the screen. The economy, do that again one more time. What's wrong with my button here? All right, there we go. The economy, as you know, is not good. And I'm going to tell you something. In the book publishing industry, it is really bad, right? I don't mean with any particular company. I mean with all of them. The book publishing industry is like down here. Somehow, some way, this book is selling. I don't know what it is. It didn't reach bestseller status just yet in terms of the criteria that my publisher has, but we're hopeful with these final 2 months before its 1 year anniversary, we're going to hit it. I'll let you know, right? But we had a good October. So if you don't have a copy, get your copy. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? The most important book I've ever written. So get yourself a copy. It's a quick read, an easy read, but it's not meant to be read as a novel. It is a reference book to make sure that you are doing the things that are necessary to be the instructional leaders that your staff, your students, your parents, and your community need you to be. Enough said. Get that off of there. All right, let me do a quick monologue. I'm gonna keep it brief, y'all. It's called. I did this years ago on this platform. We're in our 6th year. We're not at the 6th anniversary, but we're in our 6th year. So somewhere around the 1st year, I did this thing called Nelson Mandela's 8 Lessons of Leadership. Right. When I was trying to come up with a monologue for the week, I said I need to revisit that. Because the folks that were watching back then, a lot of them don't watch now, right? For whatever the reason. And then we got a lot of new people, right? So my monologue today, Nelson Mandela's 8 Lessons of Leadership. They're quick. He said, number 1, courage is not the absence of fear. He said it's inspiring others to move beyond it. Real quick thoughts on that. Courage is not the absence of fear. So you could be the most courageous person, the most courageous leader there is. But it doesn't mean that you don't have some level of fear in certain situations. He said courage is not the absence of fear, but it is inspiring others to move beyond it. That's your role. Who are you? Got my mirror with me. Who are you as you inspire others to move beyond it? Number 2, lead from the front, but don't leave your base behind. I happen to love that one. Lead from the front, but don't leave your base behind. So yes, get out front, lead from the front, let people make people aware. You don't have to tell them, they just aware from your actions that this place, that in our case, this school, this district, this department, this division, this team is being led by somebody. However, don't get so far out front that the people that you leading, they can't even see you. They got to get binoculars. Where is he? Because you so out front, you so loving the limelight, you so loving the camera, you so loving the attention, you so loving the love, you got way out there. And then the folks you lead, they like, where? I know he here. I can smell his cologne or his perfume. Her perfume, I smell it, but I don't see him. See, Mandela said, lead from the front, but don't leave your base behind. You see that? Number 3, he said, lead from, I love this one, man. He said, lead from the back and let others believe they are in front. Woo! See, that's the real leadership right there. I see you, Principal Michael Dixon. He'll be on here later on as well. Lead from the back and let others believe they are in front. See, that's that one that found that balance. I ain't got to be seen all the time. I ain't got to be heard all the time. I ain't got to be the one in front of the camera. I ain't got to be the one in front of the crowd. Let me fall back and let me take y'all and put you up here, because I have instilled a certain culture within us. And when you're up front, I'm still leading, but I'm back here doing it. See, we sometimes we miss that. I gotta be out. I gotta speak it with my whole chest, man. Sometimes we no, you building leaders. Your cafeteria worker is a leader. Your custodian is a leader. Your security is a leader. All these folks are leaders. Your students are leaders. Your teachers are leaders because you nurtured that. You fashioned that into shape. So now they in the front. You back here, baby. You back here, but you still leading. That's the point. Hey, y'all, as I'm in the number 4 now, it just hit me. You should have done this as a solo session. You can't do this as no monologue. We're going to revisit it later. Number 4, know your enemy and learn about his favorite sport. This Mandela, baby, he said, know your enemy and learn about his favorite sport. What is he saying? I mean, I guess it's obvious, right? So you know your enemy, but know that person. See, like now you know his sport, you know a lot about him. So now you know how to deal with him. You know how to maneuver with them. You may even know how to manipulate the relationship because it's not where it's this divide and it's the enemy and you, and now you don't know how to maneuver with that enemy who's doing stuff behind the scenes trying to undermine and sabotage your leadership. Now you know this person. You know this person so well, it looks like it's your friend. Now you get some things done, baby. That's how you got to handle that. Mandela said, know your enemy and learn about his favorite sport. Now, I know you ain't feeling me. Watch this, y'all. I know you ain't feeling me, but check this out, enemy. Man, you see the Giants on Sunday? right? I say in Giants because that's my home team, right? You see the Giants Sunday, and you know he likes the Giants. Guess what? That's your enemy, but he loved the Giants because you did your homework. He gonna want to talk to you about the Giant game. He gonna want to talk about the fact that Scatterboo and Neighbors are injured, and if we had them two with Jackson Dart, we probably would have been a contender. He want to have that conversation. I hope y'all hear me, man. I hope y'all hear me. Number 5, keep your friends close and your rivals closer. Ooh. See, somebody out there might say, keep your rivals at a distance. Mandela said, nah, bring them to you. Bring them to you. Keep your friends close and your rivals closer. Ooh, 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 ooh. Let's go. Watch this. I love this one right here. Appearances matter. And remember to smile. See, some of y'all. Well, let me go again. Mandela said appearances matter. And remember to smile. See, y'all dealing with like adversarial relationships and all that kind of stuff, man. And then because of the tension that accompanies that, you approaching it all, you. And if you don't look like this is what you feeling inside. Like, man, I don't like these people, man. I don't want to be in this space right now. Nah. Mandela said, so inside you like, I don't like these people. I don't want to be in this space right now. I don't want to be in their presence right now. But your face, man, you like this, baby. You like this, man. Nobody knows, right? So now you're able to do what you got to do because no one knows it inside. You like, this you inside, man. Ooh. But you got this, baby. They don't know. And then next thing you know, you ahead of them, man. Enough, man. Enough. Let's go. Number 7. Nothing is in black or white. Ooh. Mandela said nothing is in black or white. That means you got to study, man. You got to learn. You got to educate yourself, right? Because nothing's in black or white. It's not obvious. And last one, number 8. Ooh, this is the biggest one, man. He said, quitting is leading to. Y'all remember the video I did a few weeks ago? I said, I quit my job twice. He's quitting my job elevated my career. And it made me feel good about looking in the mirror too. Mandela said quitting is leading to. Because see, we taught when we young, man, you quit, you never quit anything, right? That's what your parents teach you, other people significant in your life. But then you find out later on, everything ain't for you. Everything's not for you. The money. So this particular job you got, you leader somewhere, the money is really good. The status is good. The prestige is good. But that place don't have your name on it. And sometimes we learn that the hard way. Your name's not on that building. Your name's not on that department. Your name's not on that division. Your name's not on that team. Your name's not on that district, right? Your name's not on that school. It looks good, but that ain't for you. What's for you is down the street. What's for you is in the next town. What's for you is in the next county. What for you is in a different part of the state. What's for you is in a different part of the country. That place right there, that's not for you. But if you stay there and endure it, then you live in like a slow death, so to speak, right? Because inside you are stressed out of your mind. You are emotionally a wreck because you're reporting to a place every day that pays the bills, but does nothing for you emotionally, does nothing for you mentally. does nothing for you in terms of your growth, your development, right? Your disposition, right? It does nothing for you. It's just, at least I can pay my bills and put my children through college. But you're dying inside. See, Mandela said, quitting is leading too. So maybe I gotta quit to find the place where there's my name on the wall. I see it on the facade of the building. This is mine. I don't mind saying this, and then I'm gonna bring my guest up. When I left this school called Patrick Healy Middle School in East Orange, because of my relationship with the superintendent, not the school itself, the relationship with the superintendent, and got recruited to Essex County Vocational Technical Schools by the superintendent. And he talked to me, and I said, my name is on that building. This is where I should be, not somewhere battling this lame superintendent. I should be somewhere where I can call the shots. And if I can't do it, then run my butt out of town. But give me the liberty to lead it. As a seasoned leader, I quit. And that was leading to, baby. That was leading to. Enough said, man. I feel myself getting ready to preach a sermon. I got guests here. So let me bring them on up here, man. Let's get them. Let's bring that back. Let's go. Hang on. I'm just change that back. There we go. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Man, I know y'all. I was looking at y'all, man. He going in this morning. Yeah,
You should have saw our text in the back while we're waiting on the stage. We're texting like talking today. Yes.
I go in on all the monologues, man. I don't know what that is, man. But hey, welcome back. It's good to see you again. The two of you. It's funny, you know. I didn't say this off mic. I purposely didn't. But it's funny how you were just here, and both of you have evolved so much since the last time. You're not who was on the screen last time. I mean, of course, it's you.
Yes.
But what you've accomplished in such a short period of time since the last time you were here, you talk about evolution and growth and development in a short period of time. You epitomize it, right? So just good stuff. To the fam out there, if you don't know these two women, I'm gonna read the bios, but you better go on their social media pages or just ask somebody. Like Karima Anque says, she said, powerful leaders. Right, and that's and a lot of others have been saying the same thing. All them Newark kids out there. So let me that's why I said let me rock my Newark jersey today.
Okay.
It's not a Negro League jersey. This is the Newark Bears, not the Newark Eagles. This got number 8 on the back. This Yogi Berra. This is what he wore when before he played for the Yankees. As the Newark Bears were a farm team of the Yankees. Let me read the bios real quick. Y'all fasten your seatbelts because I'm going quickly to the fam out there. Dr. Shakirah Miller was born in Newark, New Jersey, where she graduated from Hawkins Street Elementary School and earned a scholarship to attend Blair Academy, a prominent boarding high school in Blairstown, New Jersey, where she excelled in field hockey, basketball, and track. Dr. Miller earned a BA in psychology from Rutgers University, Newark, an MA in applied psychology from Teachers College, Columbia University, and an MA in administration and supervision from St. Peter's University, and her EDD in education leadership from Teachers College, Columbia University. Dr. Miller has held multiple roles as an educator, teacher, vice principal, and for the last 10 years, assistant superintendent. After 25 years of service, Dr. Miller is a recent retiree and has effectively coached principals and leaders to ensure successful staff and student outcomes. Dr. Miller is the owner and CEO of JJMP Coaching and Consulting, LLC, where she serves as a strategic advisor and transformative leadership coach. She holds an advanced certification in team coaching, ACTC, and is professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. In addition, Dr. Miller is a certified executive coach, certified diversity professional, and board certified coach dedicated to empowering clients to achieve growth through transformative leadership and executive coaching experiences. She's the visionary behind the Level Up Leadership Lounge on Facebook a thriving community where aspiring and current leaders connect to sharpen their skills and elevate their impact. She's also the creator of the Above and Beyond Professional Development Series, a transformative program that moves beyond the traditional graduate curriculum and textbooks to prepare leaders for their real-world challenges of educational leadership. And finally, Dr. Miller is the proud mother of her 14-year-old twins, Brett and Zoe. At her core, Dr. Miller is on a mission to help leaders level up and lead boldly and create lasting change from inside out. Strong stuff. Dr. Samantha Lott Velez is a dedicated educational leader with over 23 years of service to children, families, and schools. She currently serves as assistant superintendent for Newark Board of Education, overseeing elementary schools in the South and West Wards of the city of Newark, a place she proudly called home for more than 30 years. A lifelong advocate for equity and early learning, Dr. Lott Velez previously led the largest early childhood program in New Jersey as executive director of early childhood for Newark Public Schools, becoming the district's first Head Start director and the first African-American in that role. Under her leadership, Newark strengthened its birth to grade 3 systems, expanded community partnerships, and improved learning outcomes for young children. Appointed assistant superintendent in 2021, she oversees 14 elementary schools and has led significant improvement in student achievement, attendance, and school climate. 9 of her schools identified as comprehensive or targeted status by the New Jersey Department of Education successfully exited those designations and have remained out. An accomplishment she attributes to strong systems, accountability, and collaboration with principals, teachers, and families. And finally, Dr. Lott Velez holds degrees from Ramapo College and Montclair State University, earned her doctorate from Seton Hall University in 2024. She's known for leading with both expertise and heart, challenging the status quo and believing deeply in the limitless potential of children. Another strong bio. Good stuff, great stuff, good stuff. I was telling you, let's get to it. To the fam out there, do me a favor real quick, hit the share button, hit the repost button, hit the retweet button, hit the like button to just activate those algorithms. Let folks know, call somebody, text somebody, let them know we are here and we are ready to go. Shout out to Dr. Janabu Williams, who's on here right now, the current principal of North Tech. Recently on CBS News, showing the world what they're doing at North Tech under his superb leadership. Let's go. Dr. Miller, Dr. Lott Velez, what I didn't say to you, I got these several questions coming up, but I didn't put a name to them, so anybody just jump on it. Let's go. We have a problem, I've been saying for years, in school leadership, one that seems not able to be resolved. And that problem is the utilization of the assistant principal. The training in the utilization of the assistant principal. I will not say that that's across the board, every school you go into, that's an issue, because it's not. But in a lot of places, it is, where this person is non-instructional, right? So we want to talk about discipline, we want to talk about whatever it is, but it's non-instructional activity with this person being a supervisor of teaching. So with that, I got this multi-step question that I want to throw at you. It's about 8 or 9. Talk to us about the significance of a well-coached teacher who was.
Say that again?
Talk to us about the significance of a well-coached teacher who was at one time a struggling teacher.
When you mind if I take this, Samantha, start? Okay. So when you coach a teacher, it's not to say these are the operational things that you need to do. When you go in to coach a teacher, it's truly about ensuring that you want to change teacher instruction and student outcomes. What is your goal? And data, research, it all speaks to what our best practices. So as a leader, when we go in to coach a teacher, we ourselves must be well-versed in whatever it is that's necessary, the research, the data, the students, every outcome that we seek, we must be well-versed in the data that reflects that and the best practices in order to be able to support our teachers, coach them in whatever it is that's necessary to build them up in order to ensure that they are learning, they are growing. To me, coaching builds capacity. That's just it. We need to focus on feedback, reflection, and our teachers need to trust us to see that we're confident in our abilities to be successful, but in order for them to be successful. So that's where I would start.
You know, you before you go, Dr. Lott Velez, you talked about us doing the research, doing the reading, doing the learning, and for me that just begged me to say this. Imagine, if you will, that coach, that administrator, who when they were a teacher, they were highly successful as a teacher. They were a great classroom teacher, but the only strategies that they had to give to a teacher that they're now coaching through their administrative capacity is what they did when they were a classroom teacher, right? Because I think about that a lot, where you got folks, you got folks out here that their strength, their go-to is what they used to do. But all of that which we used to do, certainly what I used to do, is not transferable to a teacher who's nothing like you. Speak to that, since you had brought up the whole thing about study and research.
So when you're a teacher and you make the step to come out of the classroom, you have to be intentional about what you don't know, where your deficiencies lie, and seek out that professional development. So, for example, I'm a math person. I was a math teacher. I was at Barringer High School. Once I left Barringer High School to become a principal, I knew math was my strength, but I was very intentional about understanding and learning everything about everything else. Early childhood literacy. I could write. I earned my doctorate. I'm smart enough, but I wanted to be intentional about understanding the curriculum, because my expectation was I had to model for my teachers and my assistant principal, vice principal, that just because I was a math person didn't mean that I couldn't go into the classroom and know what best practices were and what they looked like for instruction in the literacy classroom, in the science classroom. And I did the work myself too, to make sure, okay, I don't understand this fully, but guess what? When I go in to see this lesson, I want to be able to give this teacher feedback on what steps they should take moving forward to improve that lesson, to improve student outcomes, and just improve their growth. So as a leader, I had to be intentional about where I was deficient and where I was going to grow. So I had to go seek out additional professional development opportunities to ensure that I was able to be the best possible coach, not just leader, but a coach to my teachers and my vice principal.
Love it, love it, love it. Dr. Lott Velez.
Yeah, so just thinking about the initial question around a well-coached teacher. This is a part of conversation that I have with administrators all the time, understanding that in order for us to coach or support anyone, we have to actually also study them, not just study theory, but study the people that we're working with, whether it's adults, whether it's children. Before we actually can go in and support, we need to know who they are and what are some of their strengths, what are some of their challenges. And so what I find is that the issue is not people's expertise around what they know about best practices. A lot of times the gaps in coaching are related to people's expertise around how they study people. And so when you are dealing with a teacher, you need to go into a classroom and actually follow that teacher. And so I remember coming in initially and observing how principals observe teachers. And what I would notice is that when they would walk in a room, they would spend so much time with children. It was an expectation that in order for you to know if good teaching was happening, you had to focus lazily on the student. And I understand that portion of it. But what I told my administrators, I told them, I want you to focus on the teacher. So everywhere the teacher goes, I want you to follow that teacher. And I want you to study how that teacher is, in fact, transforming learning in the classroom and helping a child get to the next level. And so it became a part of our structure and how we handle observation. And when I go in now and observe my principals, I study them. And so by us studying, being in this business of studying, we can then identify, well, what is really going well? Because we don't always want to go in. Naturally, as educators, we're problem solvers. So we want to find a problem and find a solution. But we have to identify what is really going well and then use those strengths to move forward with those challenges. And then when we identify what those challenges are, it's important that we have reflective conversations with teachers. A well-coached teacher is a teacher who is a part of the change process, who actually participated in what the action steps are going to be for them to become better. Not a person that just do what you say, but a person that had a say in the plan. So we have to sit down and we have to have collaborative conversation around what's feasible. And so a lot of times there's a lot to be done, but what can be done as a small step right now where we have those small wins and then we could get to the big win? What's feasible, by what timeline, and in what way, right? And so having those conversations directly with the teacher, and then whatever promises we make to them around when we're going to come back and check in, that we actually follow up on that promise and we come back and we check in and we continue the cycle over and over again. But it's very important that we are in the business of studying the people that we're going to coach so that our coaching work with them is in fact impactful.
That's powerful stuff. Observing, watching, learning the people that we coach. How do I coach you if I don't know you? If I don't know your qualities, if I don't know who you are, right? And it goes back to the question that I asked about that which we did and transferring it to somebody that we don't even know, right? Good stuff. Let's keep it going. Talk to us about, and this again is for anybody. What are the implications for a school? I'll get to the youngster in a minute, but what are the implications for a school when you've got a percentage of teachers with a wealth of potential, but the reality is that ongoing coaching, which is that on-the-job professional development, is lacking in that building? What are the implications for that school under those circumstances? Anybody? Y'all yielding to each other.
Right. Well, if that's happening, the school is going to fall apart. Right now as an assistant superintendent, my biggest lever are my principals. I have to make sure that I'm hiring the best principals possible, right? I believe 100% of my principals. I'm very territorial, and that's why I'm always like, my principals, they're mine. I believe in them. My principals have to believe in their people, right? And so if you're hiring a teacher, you have to believe in them. And in order for you to believe in them, before you hire them, you need to know, what do they bring to the table? And you have to constantly remind them of that all the time. Like, this is why I hired you, because I know you bring this specific quality to the table, and I want to see that show up. What happens in many cases is that the requirements of the system, right? Again, it goes back to the system. The requirements of the system bogs leaders down. And so as a result, they're running that rat race of just getting things done. And they don't have time to go back to that initial relationship that started when they first decided they were going to hire somebody, because that was relationship building. You're like, I like this person. They'll be a good fit. I see that person can have a relationship here in this building, right? In our culture, in this building. But when we step away from those relationships and allow the day-to-day management of the work to take over, we lose the meat of it. Our teachers are our biggest lever in our schools. And we have to let them lead in the work that they need to lead by allowing them to have a voice at the table. And many times what I see happen is that because there's a requirement and a deadline, teachers don't get that voice, right? And so that part is missing, and they're given something instead of allowing them to speak for themselves. And they don't like that, because they're smart and they went to school too, and they have knowledge beyond what anybody else in the building have. Why? Because they sit before those children every single day and they study them. So no one knows more about what needs to happen in a school than a teacher. And so the best ways to make sure that you're doing what's best for your school and that implication of the school falling apart doesn't occur is to make sure that your teacher voices are at the table. What are the structures within your school where you, as the leader and administrator, sit with teachers and you listen, not dictate, not tell them what to do, not lay out a laundry list of administrative tasks, but where you actually put something on the table and sit back and let them have the conversation about what is needed and what is best, and you take note and decide on how are we as a team and as a support staff and administrative team going to help our teachers get what they need so that students can succeed. Their voices have to be at the table.
I want to stay with you for a minute. before you jump in here, Dr. Miller. So what really stood out for me with everything you said was teacher voice. And I'm thinking about that leader. Let me paint a picture. So you got this AP who had no voice as AP, right? So you did all the non-instructional duties. So now somehow, some way, you become a principal, and all you know is what you used to do. So now you've fallen into that pattern. So now here you got Dr. Samantha Lott Velez talking about teacher voice, which ties into those Mandela principles of leadership, right? Mm-hmm. So now talk to us about, how do I train this new principle to help teachers to elevate their voices, so that they do have a voice, but simultaneously I'm comfortable in letting them have their own voice, and I don't feel that my leadership is threatened as a result of me being able to fall back, as Mandela said, lead from the back, and allow people to feel that they're up front. What's your thinking?
Well, first of all, you need to be present with them, right? And so you can't be in your office all day working on just operational things. You can't only delegate that your vice principals are the only people meeting with your teachers. Administrators have to be present with their teachers, even the principal. And so when is your time when you're present with teachers? When is that time? And under what structure, right? So if it's at least during a couple of PLCs a week, even if you can only make one or two, like make one or two and make them in different grade levels, so that you are at least hearing from everybody across the school, and not just the one grade level that's available during your time. And go in the room, and instead of leading the conversation, be a person in the room, right? Because what happens is, most of the time, if a principal comes in a room or someone from our team comes in a room, people may be looking for us to lead what we want them to talk about. Now, we built a culture now where that's not the case. When we come in, they know we're coming in to observe their conversation. It's almost like we're not there. And that's what needs to happen. Like, listen to them, but listen with intention, right? And so in that conversation, there may be something specific you're looking for. Maybe it may deal with instruction. Maybe it may deal with culture, climate, whatever it is. Go in with some sort of intention around, like, why are you present for that day? What are you gathering? What are you studying about how you can do a better job at serving your school as the school leader? And then if you do have a question, share it with them, right? And maybe spend like the last 5 minutes, don't take over their meeting, but maybe a couple of minutes in their meeting, just maybe the last 5 minutes, ask your question and get their feedback. Then go to another one, get their feedback. And then when you have your big staff meeting, or when you write your weekly newsletter and you give a response that is based off of the feedback of your teachers, let them know that. Say, because of your feedback, here's the decision that was made, and thank them for their feedback. But don't be fake about it either. Like, it really needs to be because of their feedback that you're making decisions about what should happen in a school that they're basically running. Like, without your teachers, you won't have a school. So it's very important that we are, number one, going in and with intention, but intention to study and take note, not intention to tell them what to do, and then being responsive to what teachers actually say, and then telling them how you responded, right? And putting that in writing, saying it out loud, say it, speak it. How are you responding? And then whatever you said you were going to do it, because that's what teachers want. What happens a lot of times is, we ask teachers to do things, and then next year we're asking them to do something else and we scrap what we asked them to do before. And at some point, they lose faith in the system. And so they stop listening. So what we have to do, number one, is there needs to be coherence, and there needs to be consistency. If we say we're going to move forward based off of your voice, then we need to do that. And we need to consistently do it until the work set tells us that something else needs to be done because it's not working anymore.
I love it. Dr. Miller, there's so much on the table right now.
I know. So I had one thought, and then we went on to another one, but I'm going to say, like, the most powerful professional development for a principal to have, for assistant principals and teachers, is modeled behavior. A principal has to go in there and model exactly what he or she wants, and your teachers are watching. they're learning, they're growing. And then it builds a level of trust when you are modeling exactly what you expect from them. And when you go in, so when I was a principal, some days I knew that we had our challenges, but I would go in there just looking for the good. I wanted to build morale. If it was that day where I just needed to build the morale, the culture in my building, I wanted to be able to say, okay, I'm going in there and I'm just looking for good. I need to know that my teachers know that there is good in their room that is occurring. Despite what is not happening at that particular moment, there is good. You have something to offer. So guess what? We're going to build on that, because I believe in coaching people up before I coach them out. So again, professional development is something that is key. If there are principals who, we can easily say, you can't be in your office. We know that. We remember getting those dang on emails and having to rush back to the office. You be in the middle of instruction, especially for those of us who are instructional leaders. Like, we love getting into the classroom. We'll spend the entire day there and forget about an email, It's easier to say that we want to do that, but the reality is that they have to, and especially in the culture that Newark is. That's what it was. You have to get all this operational stuff out the way, because we do have a lot of, at least when I was assistant superintendent, we have great principals, great, and it's about building them up. That's why I was able to, my last 2 years in Newark, we focused on, we got the attendance, we got the lunch applications to get the money back into we got all these different operational tasks. But then I started seeing that they felt beat down, and my focus began to shift. Not that we didn't deal with all that, because they were still knocking it out and they were still being successful. It was about, how are we taking care of yourself? How are we taking care of you? That's when I shifted. Well, I added another layer to what my leadership, what I required of my principals. And that focus was on self-care. That's a whole other conversation that I'm very passionate about, but it's something that's essential, because if the principals don't focus on themselves and they don't support themselves and support their learning and growing, how else are you going to build your school? How are you going to model that for your AP, your vice principal? How are you going to model that for your teachers and your students? So again, I believe that the most powerful professional development is model behavior. So whatever you want, whether that's taking care of yourself, whether that's getting back into those classrooms, whether that's looking for the good and making sure your teachers know that they are worthy and that you value them, is so many different aspects so many different actions you can take to build up whatever is lacking in your school. So again, I think it's just that model behavior that needs to occur. And once you begin that, so again, it will help build up your vice principals, your teachers, your school, your culture, modeling that behavior. What do you expect? That's what I'm saying. It was so much I wanted to touch on so many different areas, but that's what I'm gonna focus on right now.
No, that modeling is heavy duty, and I can even tie that into my morning here in Houston. Like I said, I in the monologue, I could wake up, have breakfast, and then come up here and continue to prepare for the live stream. But I'm a presenter, and I do have some level of stature in this business. So I said, no, I'm going to the keynote. That's modeling, right? Because all the organizers know that I'm doing this. That's why they scheduled me for the afternoon. So I'm down there modeling that, although I'm doing this morning, I'm still coming to your general session, and I'm going to be there for the entire general session, right? That speaks volumes for others who are speaking, as opposed to, let me chill in my room and watch television until it's time for the podcast, right? So that's that modeling. I mean, we can go on and on. It's just so much there that we can teach, talk until the cows come home. Yeah. But what are we demonstrating? What are we exhibiting, right, for people? Let's keep moving, because I know that minute hand gonna move, and I'm gonna be telling y'all, let's do part 3, right? So I mean, we're gonna do that anyway, but think about it. Talk to us. I said that in terms of the school. Let's be a little bit more specific with the student now. Talk to us about the implications for a student, and let's just focus on a student who's sitting in a classroom, or it could be more, but I got one in mind, and the one I got in mind is me, me, the student, when I was in high school, right? So that student who's sitting in a classroom with a teacher who is grossly uncoached, the coaching is insufficient. And my question to you, what may be the lifelong implications for a child who is sitting in a classroom with an uncoached teacher that is struggling? Anybody?
It hurts my heart to even think about it, but we do have it.
Hey, Dr. Miller, real quick, I don't mean to even interrupt you. I just want to recognize the person I just put on the screen.
Okay.
As Dr. Kimberly McLeod. She is the president-elect of the National Alliance of Black School Educators, NAPSE. And she's doing big things. I won't get specific, Doc, because I really want to talk about your story, but I won't. That's for you to tell. But just want to recognize that she's here, and the president-elect. I think she becomes president this month,
Okay.
right? So shout out to Dr. McLeod, NAPSE.
I'll be there next month presenting on self-care and leadership.
There you go. I want you to make sure you meet her.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So the student, it hurts my heart to even think about a student. I'm thinking about my son who had a teacher similar to this, like it was uncoached, and as a mom, being an educator, you're going to work with your kids at home no matter what, but the work that some parents who may not know how to support their child in whatever content area that may be, it is painful to know that some parents will not be able to support their children. So the child, the struggle he or she may go through, just understanding what their worth is and understanding how they can get the help, who can they reach out to. You look to the teacher to know everything. Sometimes they look to the teachers to know more than their parents. And I'm an educator, but the teacher said. So if the teacher is not coached, it can cause so many challenges for our children. And then it causes years of challenges, because if this child goes with this teacher and sits with this teacher and essentially doesn't learn enough from this teacher, moving into the next grade, you're putting them years behind, because then you're not setting them up for success for the next year, first that year, and then the next year, and then they're entering that next grade with deficits. So it's the principal's job. When you think about being a leader, it's the principal's job, because it truly affects every child. So remembering your why. Why did you become a leader? I can go on about so many different areas. Why did you become a leader? I know I became a leader. I wanted to be a teacher, and I sat there with my 25 children, and then I wanted to impact more. My next 2 sections of students, 50, 60 kids. Then I realized I wanted to impact even more students. It wasn't about the true leading. It was really about impacting children. How am I going to make sure that these children are successful? I went away to boarding school. I earned a scholarship. I could have gone anywhere else. I wanted to come back home to Newark. That's where I'm from. I wanted to come back to Newark to make sure that I knew what could be afforded to the students from the inner city, from the hood. Yeah. So it's really the responsibility of that leader to ensure that coaching gets done, and it's good coaching. So if you're unable to do it, there's plenty of opportunities for people like me, consultants, who go and you coach, because we know what we're doing. At least I do. We go in and we support you and coach you, not really tell you. Like, we're not going to sit here and say, oh, you have to do this, this, and this. It's really coaching you because they have the knowledge. It's having them feel empowered to be able to say, okay, I'm going to coach you through this behavior that changes student outcomes and teacher learning and improves the culture of your school. I'm going to coach you through that. They know what they need to do. It's just helping them understand, how does this apply to every student that you have in your building. So I know I spoke about it quite a few things, but that's where I'm going to leave it.
But that's good stuff, and transition to Dr. Lott Velez. I'm just thinking about, just a youngster that's got a wealth of potential. I'm him. I epitomize everything about this question. It's got a wealth of potential, but I got a teacher present real-time inability to connect with that youngster, right? The everything the youngster needs is in them, but the connection is just not there. So now that can stifle me, not just for this year. That, as you said, that can stifle me for the rest of my life. That 1 year, that 180 some odd days of being with that substandard individual, which it doesn't have to be. This is a leadership platform. So the question becomes, and I'll throw it to you, Dr. Lott Velez, what are we doing as leaders to increase the probability that I've got proficiency in that classroom relative to the teacher? So floor is yours.
So let me just give it to you raw around what happens when a student is sitting in a classroom with a teacher that needs to be coached, that's not as effective as he or she could be, and they're not being coached. It is a waste of that student's time. And as adults, we know what it feels like to be present in a space, taking up our time, and we get absolutely nothing out of it. And so how dare we do the same to children? We cannot, not in this field. And so it becomes extremely important that we understand that during that process, we dim their light. We take away their expectation and their relationship to school. And I watched this unfold mostly during the pandemic, when many of our greatest teachers had to enter a classroom uncoached. Why? Because we were in a state of emergency and we had to transition to online learning. And many people were not familiar and comfortable. Some of the greatest teachers struggled with that. And so here you had highly effective teachers who now weren't as effective, and they were also not coached because everybody was trying to figure it out while dealing with everything else that was going on. And I watched that impact on my own child, right? As a mother, a child who loved school, a child who, through his years in the city of Newark, he had some of the greatest teachers that this country has, probably internationally. And they made him love learning, okay? And then now, all of a sudden, his perspective about mathematics shifted. And he was a math person. And he didn't like math anymore. Why? Because he didn't like the way he was learning it. And I'm not going to fault his teachers for that. They didn't know that they weren't as effective. They probably did. But at the end of the day, there wasn't enough professional development available with everything else that everybody was trying to catch up with to give them that opportunity to really become knowledgeable about the process of pedagogy in an online platform prior to them going in and having to engage with children. And so as a result of that, many mistakes were being made, and we lost so many children. So your question was, what was the implications of that? We saw the implications of that during the pandemic. And we saw the results of that when we looked at data across the state, how our reading levels dropped, everything dropped. But what it showed us was the impact that in-person learning had on children. And so as an administrator, right now, my thing is, whatever we learned during the pandemic, we have to keep doing. Just because we're back in brick and mortar, we don't drop those and leave those by the wayside. We have to make sure as educators that we are knowledgeable about all of the different ways that children can learn, because outside of us, they're doing that anyway. We have to study. We have to get more involved in what's happening with artificial intelligence. As much as people don't want to, we have to. It is the way the world is moving. And the 20th century, 21st century is about to become 22nd century in a bit. Are our children ready for it? It is our job. We have the biggest job as educators. Our job as educators really is to prepare children for the present and the future, right? Not the past. They learn from the past, but we're preparing them for the present and the future. And so in order for us to prepare them for the future, we have to actually be studying what's happening. How is the world transforming? And as leaders, we can't just send our people to study that. We have to study. We have to play with it. Even at the assistant superintendent level, when I'm doing PD with my principals, I'm trying to use some of the same platforms with them that their students have to use. It's very intentional. I'm like, well, if I get them to engage in it, then they'll know what it's like when they are engaging with their teachers and their students to make sure that their students know how to engage in it. And so we have to make sure that we're constantly in the business of researching. If you are an educator and you stop researching, you are failing the system. We have to constantly be in the business of researching and studying all of the components of the work, from people, processes, all of it. We have to be in the business of studying it. And then we have to go in and we have to do the work, right? So we know there's a problem, but now we have to go in and we have to actually fix the problem and work with our teams to make sure that we're coaching up teachers. And I want to give an example of this. I visited a school recently and I went into a classroom, and just like Dr. Miller said, one of the things I've been modeling for my principals is I give them a weekly. And in my weekly, I highlight for them what happens during my visit. So whatever schools I visited the week before, I write about it in my weekly, and I tell them the great things that I saw. And then I share a focus for the week that they know my team is going to be looking for when they come in to visit schools. And so I visited this one school. And first of all of the classrooms at this school were doing an amazing job. And if you don't mind, I'd like to give them a quick shout out. This was at Penn Avenue School in New Jersey. And I visited, and the principal there is Ganiat Rufa. And I visited the school, and every single classroom that I visited, I was really excited about what I saw. And what I learned was that every teacher that I saw didn't necessarily start off that way. The principal shared with me that there are teachers in her building and in some of those classrooms I visited that were once on a corrective action plan. And I couldn't tell that from my visit. As a matter of fact, I'm highlighting, I'm like, this is a model. That is a testimony to what happens when we spend time coaching teachers. I would love to be a teacher that I'm able to say, as a teacher, at one point I was on a corrective action plan. And now my school and my assistant superintendent is saying I'm a model. It is the story of what could happen with any educator, especially educators today that are coming in non-traditional route. And all of them are not getting those studies prior to entering the classrooms. And we're hiring people in droves because there is a lack of teaching staff out there. And so we're hiring people in a non-traditional way. To have someone grow and develop within a short period of time, and I'm saying within like 3 years, and to become and to exhibit model practices, kudos to that person. We need to understand the power of coaching. That didn't happen overnight. That happened because a school team poured into someone, and that person was willing to take the coaching and the feedback and become better. And so just like during the pandemic, we struggle, everybody struggles. So we can't wave our finger at anybody, point our finger at anybody, because I don't care how great you thought you were. During the pandemic, you were probably questioning, am I really doing a great job? Because things were different, but we got better throughout the process, right? Because we studied and we perfected it. Just like the teacher that I visited at that school who perfected it and became a better teacher and now is being identified as having model practices. So the power of coaching is so important, and we don't just go in and do what we want to do. We're very intentional, and we work directly with those teachers, make sure that we have a plan in place with them that is feasible, that is collaborative, and that we identify those small wins along the way until they get to the bull's eye. That is extremely important.
Yeah. Wow. You know, there's a comment here that I wanted to get your thoughts, the two of you. Let me put it on the screen. Dr. Rachel Brown. I don't recognize the name as being one of our regulars, but what about breaking down pre-existing toxic environments where hope and direction is completely depleted? Now that's my story. I'm not going to speak to it though. I'll because it's not my day. It's your day. Anybody want to jump in on that one? Unmute yourself.
I've muted myself because I was just kept saying, yeah. So breaking down pre-existing toxic environments, we could, Samantha, you know what I'm thinking, but when it comes to what's already there, it's really trying as a teacher, trying to survive. I remember, trying to survive what's already there, but how do you bring the light and how do you shine despite that toxic environment? It's existing because there are people who are making it, and not you, but people are feeding into it. You don't have to feed into that environment. Be strong enough to change it. That's my belief. Be strong enough to change it, because no matter what, who are you there for? Remembering your why. And yes, it is draining. It is tiring. But each day, a seed is planted. Make sure you plant a seed every day that somebody is going to come down somewhere and water it. And once it gets watered, it will begin to grow. It will begin to flourish. It will begin to bloom, blossom. And then you will be like, okay, it used to be a toxic environment. And then those people who are the ones who are trying to continue to make it a continuously toxic environment, they're going to wither. And believe me, I've done it. I've lived it, and it is refreshing. Do not let anyone dim your light. Like we used to say, I used to say, if my light is too bright for you, put on some sunglasses. Put them on. Because I'm still going to come there and remember my why. Why am I there? I'm there for the children. I'm there for my teachers. I'm there for my principals, because I love what I do. So even though you have individuals who are going to continue be toxic, be negative, and essentially try to come for you, no matter what, as long as you keep your why and stay in line with your why, and pour into those children, pour into that culture, pour into and pour into yourself. Like, it's okay to take a day, pray, take a day, and then you come back refreshed, ready to remember your why and apply everything so you can be successful in ensuring that your why is accomplished. I'm going to leave that right there.
I'm going to say,
go ahead, Doc.
I suffer from a little bit of tunnel vision. So when there are things going on around me that doesn't benefit me, I know how to ignore that stuff. And I realize that in many cases, everybody doesn't know how to ignore it. And so what I deal with, and this is what I always share, with my husband, with my mother, people that don't have a place in, the workplace with me. What I share is that I'm more concerned about how other people deal with it, the people that I have to work with, than myself, because I have learned how to ignore things that don't benefit my walk. Whatever my purpose is, if what you're doing is not helping me, I may hear you, it may look like I'm listening, but I'm not letting that take over me, because I have something to do. I have a goal to accomplish, and what I'm not going to let anybody do is stop that goal from happening. As a leader right now, and over multiple schools, my goal is to make sure that those thousands of children that I am serving, that they are actually served, and that they are served with high quality. And so any type of conversation, any type of behavior, whatever, that does not help me get to that area or get to that bull's eye, I am ignoring it. So I may hear it, and and one of the ways to ignore it is to have a conversation with somebody that can help you just disperse of it. Because energy, the transfer of energy is very, very there. Okay. And I don't care how much a person may say they're not feeling it, they're going to feel it. You have to know how to release it. And so I told my principals, I said, every Monday I go to meditation and restorative yoga. And 2 years ago, I took them with me so they could understand what I meant by that. Right. So they keep saying, sometimes we're having meetings and I'm like, okay, we have to do this and we have to do that. And they're like, when we go to meditation and restorative yoga, we need another one of those sessions. So I get it. I completely understand. But my thing is, don't wait for me. I've given you the experience. Go do it. You have to figure out how to balance yourself. You have to figure out how to transfer the energy. And prior to being exposed to meditation and restorative yoga, I never went to it. I never knew about it. It was something that just wasn't a part of my thinking. But once I had the experience and I understood the impact it had on me to just be able to learn how to breathe, to be able to learn how to relax, to be able to do all of those things, and now I do it. And I don't need to be in that space at the YMCA to do it. I can do it at home. Sometimes I'm in meetings and people are like, you're looking in the air. I'm like, I'm meditating. Like it can happen anywhere for me, you know. So my thing is, listen, if you're in if you walk into an environment and it's a pre-existing toxic environment, then you have to figure out why that happened. Because most of the time, the people that is bringing in the toxicity don't even realize how toxic they are. Yeah. They think that they're being just as passionate as everybody else in the room. But personality-wise, it may have a negative impact on people. And so one of the things that I always do is just keep it 100 with people. You don't have to try to figure out how I feel. I'm the one that confronts conflict in a very professional way. I'm going to confront it, though. I'm not going to leave it on the table to fester. I'm going to say what I have to say. And so that the where and when becomes extremely important. So if I'm coming in and I'm leading a school and I'm noticing toxic behavior from certain people, they're going to be called in for a intimate conversation. We're going to talk about that behavior. We're going to talk about the why in that behavior. And then we're going to talk about how could we shift to make things better in our relationship, in a relationship with everybody in that building, because we have a goal. And at the end of that goal, what it involves are children in this school being successful. And if what we're doing here doesn't help children be successful, then it cannot happen here. And so there are going to be some non-negotiables about behavior in my school. And if I'm the principal there, it's not happening. And so that becomes important. And then it may be several people that you have to have that conversation with, right? But I would say start it off on an individual basis, because you'll be surprised. I've had people come and have really intimate conversations with me about why they behave the way they behave. And when you learn about that and you understand that they're not bad people, they don't want to be toxic. They're just being themselves, and they're exposing their vulnerable parts of themselves. Sometimes it's their childhood. It could be what they're going through right now. And so part of our work as leaders and coaches of educators is to be able to point them in the direction of the best resources for them. That's why you have to have a toolkit. Once you start having those conversations, leader, and it gets deep, what is in your toolkit to be able to help that person? Because if you're not a professional counselor, you can't always counsel them in behavioral parts, the behavior of themselves. You may be able to counsel them around education, but certain issues that they're dealing with requires a different type of expert. Who and what are in your toolkit so that you can help that person? You're checking on them. It's like, how you doing? You know, is it working out well for you? Have you tried it? Visiting them in a happy medium. You know, coming in their room, hey, how you, just to stop by to say hi, to check in. Great job. I see you did a great job today, and whatever it is, be positive with them. Because I'm telling you, I have not met a person yet that was toxic and they hadn't been through some struggles that really made them who they were. And so in the meantime, until I get comfortable enough to have that conversation with you, or you are comfortable enough to have that conversation with me, I'm going to have to put you on the back burner if you're in the way. But if you can't be on the back burner, then I'm going to confront you. If you could be on the back burner, I'm going to push you to the side. But if you're in my school teaching children, if you're in my school supervising teachers, we're going to sit down and have a conversation, because you're interfering with the work that we're doing here, and that is not going to happen.
Woo! That's a lot of information. That's a lot of good content. I hope to the fam out there that you're getting all this down. Just a lot of great professional learning happening right here. You know, I want to throw this at you. I want to look specifically now at that AP and principal. Where and how does the training need to change relative to the utilization of an assistant principal as an instructional leader, right? So in other words, do we need to look at how we're going about preparing the principal for principal leadership relative to how that principal is utilizing the AP in this regard as an instructional leader? What are your thoughts?
I think that, traditional master's programs, when you get your master's in educational leadership or administration and supervision, they do not prepare you for leadership to lead another leader. I just don't see it. I don't recall that being something.
Say that again, because that's it's just a few words, but it's really heavy.
I just don't believe that the traditional master's programs prepare you to lead leaders or lead adults, to be very honest with you. I'm a mentor to some students who are aspiring to be principals with Teachers College, Columbia University, and they go through curriculum and they go through data and they observing the teacher and in the budget. And not that the program isn't great, but it doesn't prepare them to lead other people. Coaching has to occur. It has to occur at once the person becomes an assistant principal, they're going to be leading teachers. And then as the principal, there has to be extra work put in, extra professional development and coaching put in to help the principals learn how to lead adults. How am I going to lead my vice principal through a professional learning community? I have to know it myself. How am I going to lead my vice principal in the ability to have tough conversations? Like, that's a skill. That's something that you have to learn. You just can't say, okay, I'm going to have this conversation, because sometimes it's a challenge to have a difficult conversation with a teacher. How am I going to truly give honest feedback where the person feels not just that they don't know this content, but how am I going to grow this individual? Because the whole point of leading and coaching people is to teach them and help ensuring that they grow. So once a principal prioritizes his or her growth, they have to move towards focusing on their assistant principal. Again, those traditional programs don't teach them that. So coaching and modeling is essential.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Lott Velez.
I agree with everything Dr. Miller said. I mean, everything you said was spot on. And I just want to add, especially with the vice principals, I come from like a different trajectory because, when I started, I didn't lead as a principal at elementary school. I led multiple early childhood centers. And so my vice principal, right? And then once it expanded, I hired a principal to come in and do that work while I was still managing the department. But I see vice principals very differently, right? I see them as running their areas because that's my perspective. And that's the walk that I had, right? And so for me, a vice principal should have the same basic knowledge that any person that's getting a school administrator cert should have. And part of that is when we're hiring people, it's very important that we're looking at what were their skill sets prior to hiring them. So I'm not just hiring someone because they have a certain certification or a degree. I'm hiring them because somewhere on their resume and in our conversation and through their references and recommendations, I learned that they know how to work with adults. And so we have to make sure that people that we are hiring have experience working with adults. Now, even if you came straight from the classroom and you went into administration, how were you as a classroom teacher, a peer coach and supporter of other teachers? Like, how did you work with your team when you had no supervised authority over them to really get them to do something in a collaborative way and achieve a goal, and you could not demand it of them? That is the best type of experience to have. And if you could do that successfully, you can be a good leader and you could do it as an administrator, because most of the time, people think as administrators, you have, but you're the supervisor. So if you say it, they're going to do it. No, it shouldn't just be about because I'm the supervisor. It should be about how do you build relationships with people so that they understand the why behind things. And one of the things that I noticed in many instances is that when people show reluctance and they don't want to do something, it's because they don't understand why. Like, why do I have to do this? And so it's very important that when we come to the table and we are working with teachers and we're working with adults who feel and know that they're experts in their own right, that we are prepared to have that conversation with them, that we are prepared to explain the reason why we're asking them to do the things that they're doing. And it needs to be based off of some sort of study that you've done. It needs to be because you walked into their classroom and you observed a certain type of strategy or practice that either yielded achievement and you're saying keep doing it, or it didn't yield student achievement and you're saying let's pause and refine that. You need to be able to explain that. And what I noticed in the beginning and working and looking at like observations and things of that nature is that sometimes I would see that the feedback to teachers around why they didn't achieve an effective or highly effective wasn't enough to explain why they got that score, right? So tell me what you saw me do that wasn't good enough, that you're saying because I did this and I did that and I did, and teachers go into explaining how they were effective, but what we provided, the feedback we provided it and really explain what was not effective. So we need to be able to come with the purpose behind it, and it needs to be data driven, data being something you observed somewhere, whether it was through a documentation review or whether it was through a visit to a classroom, and you need to say, this is where I saw it was not effective. Remember this happened or this happened, and have that conversation with the teacher. And then it's now let's work together to talk about how you can get better. Again, it's very important that we are really looking at what we know about our teachers. And if they have the skill and they're willing to do the work, then that's someone you could work with. If they have the skill and they're not willing to change and they think that everything they're doing is perfect and it's not, then you know what? At some point, you're going to say, I'm not wasting my time and energy on you anymore. This is not the place for you. But when you realize that a person want to do better, you have to show them how to get better. You can't just tell them they need to change. What are the steps? What do I need to change? And what are the steps that I need to take to change? Let's do those. If you can't tell me how to change and what the steps are because your pedagogical knowledge is low, because you've been pushing too many papers and now you've lost sight of instruction, that's your problem. So as administrators, we have to stay in tune with instruction. I understand there's a whole lot going on, but operationalize instruction. You're in operationalize instruction. You have to know, you cannot forget what pedagogical practice looks like in a classroom. And you got to stay in tune with what's happening in your schools. Your schools are introducing new initiatives and new ideas. As the leader, you need to be just as knowledgeable about that as your classroom teacher. Somebody on your team needs to be informing you. So who is at your table? Who are your advisors? Where are your coaches, your academic coaches? Where are your VPs and leads over specific content areas? Who's informing you? How are you guys visiting classrooms together and norming? Because as a principal, again, you're not going to be the content expert, right? For every single content. So who's walking in that room with you? How are you norming? So when you walk out, you're getting the perspective of the department chair of mathematics. You're getting the perspective of the ELA coach. You're hearing what they have to say about it and not just thinking that your answer is the only answer, because they're the experts. And so it's very important that as leaders that we stay in tune with what's happening in classrooms. I understand all the operations that are involved, but we have to find time to be present. Once or twice a week, get out there with your team, norm, do academic walkthroughs, learn, because one of the things I say, and I'm going to close out with this, one of the things I say all the time to my people is, you're not going into every classroom to always tell people what to do. Sometimes you're going in there to study them because they're doing a great job. So I have teachers that are amazing and they don't necessarily follow what our district may say they need to do, but they're doing an amazing job and they're getting results. As an administrator, when you walk into that classroom, if that teacher is getting results, you're not walking in there trying to tell them what to do. You're walking in there to study them. to see what they're doing, because there's another option that's getting us results. We have to have that flexibility in our mind. And if we only know the standard, because as leaders ourselves, we're not pedagogically sound, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk in there with our checklist and tell them what to do. But when we feel confident and we're pedagogically sound, we can walk into a classroom and study a teacher and say, what they're doing is just as good as our standard, and it may be another option to our standard. And so it's very important that we never lose sight of being that instructional person, unless we might as well just go do something else, but not running a school.
You know, I was so glad, I was elated that when you said the first time to go into a classroom and study that teacher to learn what to do, right? And I thought you were going to just leave that alone and someone might have missed it. But then you came back and said it a second time, and then you came back and said it a third time. So even you saying it, realize the significance of what you were saying. So now I'm gonna say it a fourth time, right? Hey, fam out there, you know, make sure that you make that distinction. You're not just going in to coach and observe and evaluate. You may be going in there to study. You may be going in there to learn, right? And it resonated with me so much because that's who I was. I literally was going into classrooms to learn from these teachers, right? Learn pedagogy and learn the content, right? From the ones who were doing it at that level. So I don't want anybody to miss that. You're not just going in there with a coaching lens. You got certain superstars in your building that you're going in there as a student, right? You, the leader, you going in there with a student lens to do some learning, right? Which is obviously transferable, right? So yeah, I appreciate that. Let's go to your talking points, because I get overzealous on airplanes. I get bored, and I write these long scripts, and believe it or not, I still got like 5 more questions from my script, and that would take us all the way to the end. So we're gonna leave that for another time. So let me switch my screen up here, and you all gave me some talking points. And I know that this is your wheelhouse right here, Dr. Miller. You said when principals create a culture of self-care and continuous learning, they multiply leadership capacity throughout their building. Teachers.
So a culture of self-care, it isn't indulgence. It's not something that you just indulge. It's really being strategic. Principals need to, demonstrate a balance and a professional curiosity, and once they create that, their assistant principals and sometimes their teachers feel that they can do the same. Again, modeling is like the best form of professional development. So leadership capacity, it grows when when they feel safe to learn, to rest, to reflect. That's how you move compliance to commitment. I did this for 2 years with my principals in Newark, my last 2 years. And I can tell you, I had growth as an assistant superintendent. That learning piece, I learned in every possible way, from every single one of my principals. And we actually saw best results because we really were intentional about focusing on that self-care. I had one of my principals, I'm going to shout him out, at Hawkins Street School, Alex Lopez. He created a culture of self-care that it even flowed to his students in his community and his families. It was important to me because I saw the breakdown. I saw the principals just looking and feeling defeated. They're getting the work done. Again, they're successful. We're having high scores, student achievement, all of that. But then they were not well. So when you're checking in and I'm coaching them, we have our own individual coaching sessions. It was, okay, how are you pouring into yourself? Because right now, have you done it? And so each month I tailored I took a portion of our meeting and tailored it just for self-care. And they knew they didn't want to. At the end of the year, they were like, no, we didn't want to do this. Oh, what is it? They only did it because I was forcing them to do it. And then it became a practice because they saw the improvement in their leadership. They saw it because, again, they poured into themselves. Sometimes just checking in as their assistant superintendent, I want to know how you're doing. How you feeling today? That simple question just helps. They're like, it's like you can take a breath. Hey, I'm like the fear of taking off a day when you have to take care of another family member. That's personal self-care. You want to take care of your family. Even it to the point where it's feeling guilty by taking a lunch. I force my principals. You have to take at least 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes to nourish yourself. Some of them didn't do it. They would have to text me. I think one of my principals on there going out to lunch. My text back to them, enjoy. Because guess what? Coming back into that building, if it's not burning down, guess what? You got an assistant principal, vice principal, who's going to be there to take care of that. And that way you can go out and sometimes just feel the sun on your face. It's so important. And I believe that despite all the work, they put in so much work in instructional rounds, in their walkthroughs, observations, and coaching and everything. I believe that self-care component, that added component, helped with their school culture and their teacher, because it helped with the teacher, their motivation, because you created a culture of trust, a culture of safety for your staff. So I believe that it contributed to the success of the school each year and their improved effort, and improved student outcomes and improved teacher performance. So
let me ask you this question, Doc. As an assistant superintendent for as long as you were in that position, I don't have to tell you, you know better than I do, that it is a very demanding and pressure-filled position.
Yes, it is.
It's coming from all directions. What gave you the comfort level to infuse self-care into your leadership as it related to your principles, such as "I'm going to lunch," response, "enjoy"? What got you there? Because I'm certain that there's a lot of folks in an assistant superintendent capacity who are not going to be there.
Well, to be honest with you, I began my focus on self-care because of my health numbers. My numbers weren't right. I'm like, yeah, I eat, I work out, I exercise, but then my numbers, like my blood pressure was high, my cholesterol was high. I was like, what? Like, I had to take that into account. My weight was up there. Just didn't think about it. Oh, weight looks good on you. No, it doesn't look good around my organs though. So I had to focus on, okay, I really need to, and it was a very dear friend of mine who really helped me. He helped me really focus on my self-care, and it led to just what I actually love and am truly passionate about. So as an assistant superintendent, I knew that this is what I was going to do. So, and I began to research self-care. Olga Phoenix has this whole self-care wheel, and it's about personal self-care, financial self-care, spiritual self-care, so many different forms of self-care, like community self-care. If you want to do more in your community, that's a form of self-care. I'm actually writing a book on it. Self-care is not selfish. It's a leader's guide to saying yes. That's the book that I'm writing. And you've talked to me and helped me focus on that aspect of, my journey. But it's really making sure that I had to say yes to me. And when I tell you, I loved my principals. When I was in the Southwest and East Central, I had just a great group of leaders. But I felt as an assistant superintendent, we take the brunt of a lot. And Samantha, like we protecting our people because we have that protective nature. And because we know we lived in the principal role. That's the hardest role anyone can have outside of the superintendent. So I lived in that role to know I know what they're going through. So now how can I help them? Because I felt my role as assistant superintendent, yeah, I was going to lead them, but I had to make sure that I protected them and I helped them see that they needed to focus on themselves at some point. So each month I dedicated time to, you had to bring in some form of self-care, whether we played like self-care bingo, like 15 minutes just to say, okay, last month, you told me you wanted to focus on your financial self-care. What did you do? You told me that you wanted to focus on your self-care health-wise. What did you do? 1 month, oh, I made the appointment. Did you go to the appointment? Okay, so we're going to celebrate small successes. You made the appointment. So each month it grew. And as an assistant superintendent, I felt very comfortable and confident that this was going to change them as leaders. I thought it was going to make sure, like I felt that they were going to truly grow. Like I'm all about growth and making sure that people learn what is best for them in order to be the best version of themselves for their schools, for their families. So I felt very comfortable focusing on self-care. Every month we talked individually, we talked collectively. When we did our walkthroughs, whenever I came for a walkthrough, self-care was part of that. Like, how are you taking care of yourself? Okay. And then just continually checking in with them. That's what I was fine with that. I'm gonna end it right there. Yeah, Samantha know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna end it right there.
Well, I mean, I love everything you said. You know, it just speaks to who you are philosophically as a leader, and ultimately your style as a leader, and it benefits everybody around you. That's good stuff. Let me go to Dr. Lott Velez. Where we at? You indicated that AP effectiveness is directly tied to the principal's ability to provide clear systems, structures, and expectations. Teach us.
Yeah. So first, let me just get a little giggle because Shakirah and I were talking, and I'm like, yeah, Shakirah, like we're on the opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to this work, because she's more seasoned than me. So she's like, listen, take care of yourself. Like she's my person that I'm talking to in the morning, especially when we work together. We always had our morning check-ins. It's slowed down now, you know, but we always had our time. And that was the conversation. Like it was a partner to balance it with, right? And so she has that expertise around how to handle that through her own experience. And so I do want to just give a big shout out and thank you to her for that, because as a new person coming in, it was very important that I looked at seasoned people that had been through the walk that I'm going through to figure out how did you manage it all, right? Because it's a lot to manage. And so to all of the new leaders, whether you're a new AP, a new principal, don't always try to go to your people that are new just like you. You need to go to someone that's experienced, that have been through the walk you're about to go through, and be able to use their mentorship to be able to assist you. And I would say the most impactful support has been when I've talked to people that's still immersed in it as well. So like we were going through the same things and having the same requirements. And so to be able to speak with her and navigate with her really brought us closer together. So I do want to say thank you. And it was very effective. Now, on the flip side, you know, I'm coming in new. I'm like research. I'm like, hold up, we have to get systems together, structures, and like what's going on, right? And so that's me. I'm like, what's up? What's going on here? So, you know, and so I do lean to her like around like how do I balance that? And so sometimes you're taking care of your mental is a system and a structure and an expectation that you need to navigate. But it's the part of the whole, right? So like in your systems is what's everything that's working together, right? And what are your structures that are in place inside of your school to make sure that you reach your goal, whatever that bull's eye is, right? So it could be your annual school planning goals. What are the structures that exist? And then what are your expectations? So I'm going to break that down, because this becomes extremely important for school leaders, because many times when an assistant principal is not necessarily doing what they need to do is because the principal is not given appropriate direction on what they need to do. Okay. And then and I'm saying not maybe one off, right? Because you're going to have some people that's just not cut out for the job. But when everybody in the building is not doing what they need to do, then we have to look to the top, like what's going on and what is being communicated. So an example of that would be we received our data at the beginning of the year, right? And so we have this data report that we received from the schools. And so I asked all of my school leaders, I'm like, I need for you to break down in this report, what do you see as the strengths and the challenges based off of this data that are before you? And you may not be able to make that decision on your own. You may have to go and make that decision with your team. But I need you to break that down. And then after you break it down, I want you to now tell me how are you going to change your current plan, right? And your current protocols and procedures to ensure, or not necessarily change, what are the impact of these strengths and challenges to your current protocols and procedures? So, and then after you figure it out, then you figure out what's your action plan to be able to move the work. So let me tell you what the breakdown was. The breakdown is usually in the plan, the standard operating procedures, what people call the SOP, whatever the case may be. When I'm asking, okay, if this is a challenge in your school and this is not being achieved, show me the communication that you've sent out to the masses to say that this should be happening. And if you can't show it to me, then that means it's not there. It can't be in a professional development workshop you did, because that's a moment. It needs to be somewhere where people can tap into it. If I'm a new teacher coming in, I could click that link, I can open to that page and see what your expectation is for this specific component of the system and what you're expecting of me, right? So it's almost like it's your manual, right, of how to move and operate. Now, as a school leader, if you can't find that, if you're pulling from here, there, and everywhere, and it's not somewhere structured, then we have a gap. And so I love finding gaps, especially when you are working in schools where the majority of the children are not meeting grade level expectation according to the New Jersey Department of Education. Okay, fine. If other school districts can meet those expectations, so could we. So I'm not like, it's like no excuses for me. They are the tools of the incompetent. Those who succeed at them really succeed at anything else. There are no excuses. So what we have to do is figure out what are the gaps in our system, and then we close them. And so when we're out and about, and my team, and big shout out to my team, Kashonda Montes, Tracy Cooper Singleton, Yvette Holmes, as well as Pamela Parker, those are my central office teams. When my special assistants and I are out in schools, we're also researching, because we have a job, and our job is to serve schools. So we're researching our schools. And when we sit and we see trends and we see a gap, we get excited. We're like, oh, we found something. Why do we get excited? Because if we can find it, what the issues are, we can fix them. But if we're not looking for them, or we're not trying to correct them, then we're always going to be running the same rat race. So it's important that we find what are some of those issues that we have, and then we correct them. Now, most of the time, those issues are in the standard operating. I can pinpoint it in the standard operating procedures. So I say to them, okay, if this is a challenge for you, look at your standard operating procedures, look at your communication to your team. Do you sustain that? Can you keep doing that and expect to get better results? Do you need to modify it in some way? Do you need to eliminate something because it's not working for you? Or do you need to create something because it doesn't exist? You don't have the protocol and procedure needed to be able to move the agenda, so you need to create it. So many cases, they find it. They're like, oh yeah, you know what? I didn't put that in there. I did a PD on it, but it's not in my standard operating procedure. So that new teacher that just walked in last month that wasn't at your PD last year is not going to know that. So you need to put it in somewhere where they can actually go and tap into it, and you can refer them to it. And so we noticed that was a big gap. Communication. When it's clear, like when I'm going into schools, one of the biggest questions I always ask my principals is, what is it that you're doing across this whole school that I should see happening no matter what classroom I go into? Because you as the principal, this is what you said you wanted to occur, and this is the culture of your school is happening. When they tell me what it is, and I go in and I look for it, I usually find it. Why? Because they communicated it to their team. They said, this is what they want. When I'm not seeing things, it's usually because there's a gap in communication. I haven't been to a school yet where all of the teachers aren't doing something and they were told to do it. Like, teachers don't function like that. So as leaders, we are responsible for making sure that we are appropriately communicating to our staff, and that we're communicating to them in a way that helps them to receive it. They need to know the purpose, why they're doing what they're doing. That means you need to come with some research, because you're not going to tell an expert in pedagogy what to do, and you don't have any reason or purpose for it. You have to come with some research and a purpose, right? So it needs to be data driven, it needs to be research based, and the protocols and procedures need to be clear. And then after you do that, you have to then check to make sure that it's happening, and you have to give quick, small feedback. So if we're rolling out something in our school, we need to make sure we're doing that, but then we're having those visits, even if it's a 3 to 5 minute visit, and we're like telling our teachers, hey, you did a really great job at that. Hey, go visit so-and-so. Sometimes I tell my principals, oh, go check in with this principal because they're doing that. Do the same with your teachers. Go check in with this teacher because they're doing this, or go talk to this VP because their grade stand was rocking, they were rolling, and they were doing a great job. So making sure that we're building that culture of collaboration and learning from one another so that we can move the agenda. But it's very important that we have systems that allow us to be able, well, the structures that allow us to be able to do the work that we need to do to get that done. And that can include professional learning communities. It can include the data conversations that we're having in our leadership team meetings. What are your structures that exist that allow you to be able to communicate the expectations and then to check in and look at the progress of the work that is actually occurring is very, very important. And that same applies to yourself. Like, what is your system for your own self-care? You know, what structures are you putting in place for yourself? And so because my mind is so on that side of the spectrum where I'm like system structure, right? I already told you earlier, I have tunnel vision, so you already know. But so because I had to do the same thing in my life, I'm like, I was in the same boat. I had high blood pressure. I had gained so much weight. I looked like a blowfish. Like, it was really bad. And I couldn't call it. And so what I had to do was put some stuff in place for myself. Number one, making sure I was going to the doctor and keeping up with my blood pressure med, which I'm now off. Thank you, God, for that. But then I had to put a structure in place to manage stress. And that structure for me was my YMCA, which I have a membership for. And so I go to meditation and I go to restorative yoga to help myself be able to manage through stress. And so the expectation for me is that I go. Do I always go every Monday? No, because sometimes I get caught up doing. But then I feel bad about it. I'm like, I didn't go. And you know what ends up happening? My staff say to me, you need to go to meditation and restorative yoga. I noticed you haven't went in a month. I noticed you have. They keep me accountable because they know my system and my structure. So principal, what does your vice principal, what do your staff know about your structures? Because once they start seeing you model the behavior, then they're going to start doing it for themselves. So you have to actually model what you expect other people to do. They're going to hold you accountable and you're going to hold them accountable. And it works both ways. It also happens with students. Visiting a classroom recently, I had a student in a classroom tell a teacher, no, you normally do this. Now, you didn't do this time, and we're looking for it, right? And that teacher said, you know what, they're holding me accountable. I'm like, yep, so do what they told you to, because they know what your structure is and what your systems and expectations are for learning. You don't deviate for no one. So it's very important that we write it down, that we communicate it. The only reason why my staff knew about what I had going on in my life was because I communicated it. Right? So they knew. So what are you communicating about the systems and structures in your schools? How does the student know that what's happening in your school and why they line up the way they line up? Why the agenda is posted on the whiteboard? Why it's written, the objectives and assessments are written. It's not written for me, it's written for children. Do children understand that? If I say to a student, why is that up on the board? Can they articulate to me why it's up there? And are they telling me it's for me, or are they telling me it's for them? You understand what I'm saying? So every single thing in a classroom needs to be for the student. Every single thing in a school needs to be for everybody in that school. As the principal, everybody in that school needs to understand what's happening. Even your custodial staff, your food and nutrition services staff, everybody needs to know what's happening in that building, because all of those entities and people and places and things are a part of the system that needs to work together to make sure that we achieve the goal. And ultimately, that goal is student success. Every student needs to leave out of their grade levels mastering grade level expectations unless they can't. And there's something that says, there's a medical diagnosis that says that they can't do it. And until we get there, we're going to keep trying.
That's a whole master class in a book.
There you go.
Systems, structures, and expectations. That's the title for both. That's the master class and the book that accompanies the master class. Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go. Let's do one more round, y'all. Let me see here. We got Dr. Miller, a principal who prioritizes their own growth and well-being, models the balance that empowers assistant principals to thrive rather than just survive. I was waiting for this one. Teach us.
So, I remember being a vice principal, and we take on so much. And I just remember having lunch duties, all the department chairpersons, a special ed, bilingual. I'm grateful for it because it gave me a wealth of knowledge. Like, it increased, it added to my toolkit, but it was a lot. I remember, going through, I think it was Leaders to Leaders. We had to, we received a mentor. And I remember he just remembers watching me. Everything I had to do model, like he just followed me one day. He was like, "Did you eat?" I was like, "Oh, I'll eat later." He was like, "No, did you eat?" And so I just remember saying no, but trying my best to figure out how I was going to do it. I remember that. So as a principal, again, going back to my principles, I believe that modeling is one of the most modeling the expectation is one of the most important aspects of leadership. It's an important form of professional development. So the leader's energy, it sets the tone for the entire team. The principal, you are responsible for creating that space for your vice principals and your teachers to thrive. Assistant principals, they carry the weight of like all the logistics. Let's just keep it there. The discipline, crisis response. I remember, I'm just thinking different principals. Oh, the vice principal will do this. The parent liaison will do this. Never dealing with parents. Like, it's just different aspects of the job. But then you have to have certain principals who they demonstrate that balance. So where you, and that trust and a sense of vulnerability. When you, the principal, begin to show that, it creates like a psychological safety for your vice principals and your teachers to do the same, to be able to understand that, I have all of these different roles and responsibilities, but I have to be able to balance it. And the principal is the one who models it. You want them to thrive, not just be in it. And so they have to get principals. You then have to delegate with trust. You have to share that decision-making with your vice principals, offer consistent feedback to them rather than micromanaging them. You can't micromanage them. They will not be successful. I know that I was not, but you can't micromanage, but give them, trust them. And then you free them up to operate in their strengths, whatever their strengths may be, you free them up to operate in that place. And then that's when, leadership, it just begins to replicate in your building. And it's not just a rotation of I'm just going and I'm just going to do this. This is my job. I'm going to be at the lunch duty every day. It's really about replicating the leadership that you expect.
I love what you just said. Free them up to operate within their strengths.
Yes.
So therefore there's the identification of the strength, right? And then giving you that latitude, that liberty to operate within it. Not to make it about me, but I remember my AP days as well. And I know that I just happen to be aware that I do have an ability to inspire. So I've known that as a strength, and it made my leadership somewhat unorthodox because I knew that as a strength. So, but my principal, that one year I was a principal, never allowed me to hold a microphone. right? I never got to speak to staff. I never got to speak to parents. I never got to speak to students. I didn't get to speak at graduate. I mean, nothing. But I figured out a vehicle to get me to be able to talk to folks. But I had to create that and get him to see the vision that I had and do that. But I'm thinking, I haven't thought about this in a long time, but by you saying what you did, my strength was suppressed. So I couldn't, it couldn't manifest within my leadership, right? So obviously when I became a principal, I grabbed the mic real quick, and that became a part of my own style, rooted in philosophically who I was as leader. So what you said, it just matters so much, man, and that's why I kind of went on a mini tangent. To the fam that's out there in this thread, and those who are not in the thread, everybody's not on the thread, but those who are in the thread, and to the fam out there, I should say, I just want to echo what Dr. Miller just said. Identify those strengths that people have, whether it be another leader or other people on staff, because that's their sweet spot. That's where they're strong.
Yep.
And as a speaker, and I'm getting ready to do one in a little while today, I'm my style is rooted in my strengths in terms of my delivery, right? I'm not the next guy. The next guy is not me. I'm operating in what I feel is my strength in order for me to deliver a message. And that's how it's got to be. I love that you said that. I love it so much. Let me shut up, because I feel myself going on and on, right? And acting like I ain't got a keynote and I got folks downstairs waiting on me. I mean, I'm good with time, but let me go to this second one with Dr. Lott Velez. Where are we at here? I skipped over one because there was one I really wanted to hear. This one. Your name's not there because they only give you 200 characters. So, but it's yours. Highlighting and celebrate. I want to read this a particular way. Highlighting and celebrating best practices strengthens culture, creates coherence, and models for APs how to recognize, replicate, and or scale success across classrooms and grade levels. Teachers.
Yes. And so Dr. Miller spoke about this earlier when she mentioned highlighting, right, and recognizing best practices. And so when she spoke about going into rooms and identifying what she saw to be good practice, right? And so I'm going to elaborate on that. But before I do, I just want to just make sure everybody's clear on the difference between the replicating and the scaling, right? So like replicating, you may have one person do something similar to another person. Like this kindergarten teacher is doing this, so you have another kindergarten teacher learning and replicating. When you scale something, that means it's happening across the board. So it's happening across the school, it's happening across the school leadership team. If you have a group of schools, it's happening across the district. If all of the district is doing it. And so all of it has to be research-based, okay? It's very important that it has to be research-based. But it starts off with highlighting and celebrating best practices, because people do not learn by what not to do. They learn by what to do, right? So when you identify what not to do, the only thing people are learning is that there's a problem that needs to be fixed. But when you share with people what to do, that's where learning takes place. And so in most of the conversations that I have with principals and with vice principals, my conversation, I love to always highlight a classroom teacher. I love to talk about where I'm seeing great practice happen as a model for expectation, right? What I'm expecting. And they're out there. Like we have so many amazing teachers in schools. And I know for a fact I have them in my schools that I oversee. And so I will be doing people a disservice, leaders a disservice, and other teachers a disservice if I don't constantly speak those people's names when I'm in meetings with them. But I try to also model the behavior, and I spoke about it earlier, right, around like the weekly. So the reason why I started doing a weekly this year, nobody is writing that weekly but me. So like I'm saying it because I remember a principal saying, oh, you have such, your special assistants do it. No, they're not writing them. I'm writing them. And the reason why I'm writing them is because I noticed when I was reading weeklies that were coming from administrators that it was very administrative driven, like tasks and things to do. And I didn't see all the time a lot of people being highlighted. I didn't see there being a calling out of best practices in the weekly, because that was their time to say, let's just make sure we're all in alignment with getting these things done. But when you call out a best practice, it shows people how to align. And so now I do my weeklies and I send them out. And again, when I'm out and about in schools, most of the time I'm visiting either because I'm looking for something in research, or I may be observing a principal. And so part of that observation is visiting classrooms. But I'm going in and I'm not just looking for, first of all, I'm not looking for what's wrong. I'm looking for what's right. That's number one. And so Dr. Miller said that straight up. Like, we are looking for what's right. But in looking for what's right, we may find some things that need to be refined. When I write my weekly, I am going to highlight what was right, because nobody needs to spend time reading about what's wrong. This is what's right. Do this. But my focus for the week, which is what I share, is usually based off of something I see trending that needs refinement. And my focus for the week doesn't say there's an issue here, and it doesn't harp on that. It gives suggestions, strategies, and expectations. That's it. And so that's laid out. That's my weekly. That's what I do every week, unless something comes up. But for the most part, I've been keeping on track with that. That's my task for myself this year. And I'm also learning from it, right? It's forcing me to spend time to really identify where are the lesson labs in schools. So it takes me into lesson lab. What is a lesson lab? Well, those are model classrooms across my schools. So I have all of these schools and I have all of these wonderful classrooms and teachers working hard and students working hard. Everybody's working. Like, nobody's not working. So I'm looking, if they're not working, we're working them out. So for those who we're keeping, they're working hard. And so when I'm going in, I'm like, great classrooms exist, but people don't know about them. So my principals, through the guidance of our superintendent, they have to identify 3 classrooms. I told them, give me your models. Like, why would I come in your school to observe you and you're giving me classrooms you want me to help you coach? No, give me your models. I want to know who you think are the best, because then my feedback is going to help you make sure they're the best. And then once they become the best, that becomes your school's lesson labs. Other classrooms in that building can now come into those rooms, and now they can become the best. Then your best expands. And the next year, you could give me 3 more. We went from 3 to 6. Now you have 9. Now you have 12. Eventually, all 20 to 40 of your classrooms in your building are going to be rocking. Why? Because they learn from each other. And so that's the big, hairy, audacious goal that's going to get accomplished, because I see it happening every day. And I have to shout out the schools, because at the end of the day, we're seeing growth rates that are out the roof, and teachers are achieving in ways that we never thought that they were going to achieve years ago. But we knew they could. When we backed up and allowed them to do the work that they needed to do, it got done. We had to get aligned. So the lesson labs become important. As an administrator, you have to tell them that these are lesson labs. You have to let those teachers know why they're being identified. It's not that that I'm coming in to observe them, because they're going to get tired of that, always being the one being observed. I'm coming in because they're a lesson lab, and we want to build them up to be a model classroom so that teachers across the district can come in and actually see and learn from them. And then when we go out, we talk about it. So when I spoke earlier about the classroom teacher that went from struggling as a teacher to now exuding practices that are model behavior, I'm going to send another struggling teacher to her classroom. Why? Because she overcame something. Like, you were at a place where you were struggling, and at one point you were thinking about giving up and walking away from the job, and your administrators told you to stay. And not only did they tell you to stay, they invested in you. And so now you are here doing great work, and now we want other teachers to learn from you who may be in the same shoes that you were in, and you overcame it. Right? And so that's a story to be told. She wasn't always great. She became great within 3 years, and now she's exuding exemplary behavior. So it's important that we talk about that. At the school level, how are you administrators, principals, vice principals? How are you highlighting your best practices in your classroom? Now, all of the best practices may not exist in one place. You may have a teacher that has really good print environment, another teacher that's rocking and rolling with questioning techniques. Lay it out and let people know. We went in and we actually observed this classroom, and the questioning techniques were high quality. If you want to see good questioning techniques, go speak to teacher ABC, because that person right there is rocking it out. You want to see a good print rich environment, you go look in that classroom right there, because that teacher is rocking it out. Have a conversation with that teacher. And so most recently, I told vice principals, I said, when I was a classroom teacher, and I moved from pre-K to it was pre-K to fourth grade, and they told me on a Friday I had to move on a Tuesday, and my son was in a third grade classroom. And I used to, when the teachers used to leave, I would be there 8, 9 o'clock at night, working my little heart out, right? And there was one teacher who had my son. I would go peek in her door, and I would look at her print-rich environment. And her name is Miss Archer. I'm gonna give her a big shout out. Hey, Miss Archer. So I learned about how to organize my board by looking at that teacher. She didn't know I was sneaking and looking at her room, but why nobody told me to go in there? Like, at the end of the day, when you see that somebody is doing a great job, having great whatever it is, highlight it for the school to know, and tell teachers to go in there. And don't make them go. Tell them to go. You can make them go as a part of your coaching mechanism, but that should not be the only reason why they're going. They should go because they want to go, because they want to learn. Build that culture where teachers are talking to each other. And the way you do that is by staying out the way. If you say what you say and then stay out the way, they're going to eventually, well, what's she talking about? What you got? What you have going on over there? She highlighted you as having this and that. And they're going to have those conversations with each other, right? And so that's why I throw it out there. I'm like, yeah, I went to this school and they were doing this. I went in this classroom and that teacher was doing this. And what I'm seeing happening, because my principals are amazing, they're connecting together behind the scenes. Like, I don't have to tell them. So even if I mention it, oh, you need to get with so-and-so, they're like, oh, no, we already up. We started getting together. They're doing it because they're experts in their field and they know what they need to do. So now they have their teachers visiting each other's classrooms. But guess what? Had I not said that, they wouldn't have known, because they're not in each other's buildings. So it's very important. And guess what? Teachers are not in each other's classrooms. So it's very important, administrators, that when you're seeing great practices, that you're putting it out there, that you see it. And then you have the people actually meet up and get to know each other.
Yeah. Woo. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff from both of y'all, man. And we didn't even finish. So, you know, I'll reach out to you and we do a part 3. But let me just say this to you, because I'm a move quick so that the people downstairs don't start getting nervous that I'm not coming back. But let me just get my screen right. Here we go. I appreciate the two of you on this particular topic that we talked about. There was a question that I had that directly said, it directly spoke to your thoughts on the actual title. AP effectiveness is a direct reflection of the principle. But we'll get to that next time with some other topic, and I'll make sure that I infuse it. But just want to thank you for your contribution to this platform a second time. In this case, week number 289. Let the folks know. I know Dr. Miller particularly first go round. Let the folks know how they can book you, how they can reach you, how they can get that book that's being written, all everything they need to know, how they follow you. Let them know.
Okay, so my website is jjmpconsulting.com, or you can just say drshakirahmiller.com. I have an Above and Beyond leadership series. Basically, it's virtual masterclasses for aspiring and new assistant principals, leaders who, your traditional master's programs do not tell you how to de-escalate emotionally charged situations or manage the online narratives when you have negative publicity, or creating a climate where, you're creating honesty and where honesty is valued, even when it is uncomfortable. giving that feedback in different forms, and discussing, openly leadership failures and extracting valuable lessons from them. So I have my virtual master classes available on my website. And then I will be at NAPSE, the National Alliance of Black School Educators International Conference, presenting on self-care and leadership in December. So if you're in NAPSE, come check me out.
Yeah,
if you're in Chicago, please come check me out.
Yeah,
in Chicago. I'm excited about it. And then I am writing my book. I'm not quite finished. I'm still conducting a couple of more focus groups. I'm interviewing different executives who are offering tremendous insight on how to say yes. So my book is called Self-Care is Not Selfish, and it's a leader's guide to saying yes. So that's what I have going on right now. So just connect with me on social media, visit my website. I have a lot of interesting, areas where I focus on coaching. I love coaching. I'm a team coach, behavior coach, leadership, executive. So, check me out.
Yeah.
And Principal Cabela, I just want to say thank you for just offering your platform and having us back. When you say we evolved, I want to also thank you because you really contributed to our evolution as well. When you sat you presented to my principals and you asked me a question, and I felt like I was not fulfilling everything that I was supposed to do. And you dropped so much knowledge and gave me those nuggets of knowledge, I like to say. So I want to say thank you because you definitely contributed to our evolution.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you immensely. And folks, I put the website on the screen again, jjmpconsulting.com. So reach out. By the way, before we go to Dr. Lott Velez, I forgot to tell the fam, hit us up with those emojis. If today's session, a lot of you already started because you long-time fam, but those of you who are not long-time fam, if today's session resonated with you, if it was good stuff, if it was useful, if you can utilize it, if you can incorporate it or infuse it into your practice, then give us your favorite emoji. Just load up the screen with your emojis as you've already started. I always bring mine, when I'm not home. I just got my little tiny bat, and y'all definitely hit it out the park. Grand slam every time you came to bat. So yeah, I bring this portable one with me. I see the emojis. Keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming. Dr. Lott Velez, how do they reach out to you?
Hello, good people. I am on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram under Samantha Lott Velez. So if you just look my name up, you will be able to find me. And I also want to echo what Dr. Miller shared about you, Principal Cabela, because I don't think you understand. I know it's hard, to get, all of the accolades or whatever, but this part of this work is mentorship. Having us be on this platform is helping me to grow and develop because it's requiring me to be accountable, right? I know I can't talk about something on this platform that I'm not in fact doing. And so I need to make sure that I am preparing to be able to have conversations with leaders that are authentic. And so I do want to thank you for allowing me to be on this platform to just share with others, because I learned from people like you, which is one of the reasons why I brought you to the district to speak to my vice principal. When you started right into the vice principals, it was because I was already learning from you, and I felt like it was important for them to learn from you as well. And I'm still learning from you. If anybody is tuning in for the first time, I'm telling you, don't make this a moment, make it a movement. This series is extremely powerful. And we have to all, as educators, have our platform where we are communicating with each other, not just because we're being told to, but because we want to. And this is a place where, people who come here, they're here because they want to be here. Nobody's forcing them to be here. So it's nothing like being in a room full of people that want to be in that room. So I want to thank you, Principal Cabela, for giving us this opportunity as well.
I appreciate you both. Thank you. Let me close this out. And I'm gonna put you backstage for a hot second, and then I'll bring you back up so we can wrap offline real quick. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
So, fam, appreciate you being here for week number 289. I was going to say 300, not quite yet. Week 289. Next week will be week number 290. I got 3 guests coming on. I got the superintendent of Belleville School District in New Jersey. His name is Dr. Eric Alfonso. We've been connected for quite a while. He's someone who's come to my summer institute as well. We got Dr. Erica Johnson from Houston, a former superintendent, now full-time consultant. And we got Dr. Pierrette Finney from Alexandria City. She's the Chief Academic Officer. So we got the three of them, and I put together a topic. It's called, and it can kind of go anywhere. It's called a superintendent, a former superintendent, and a chief academic officer talk, instructional leadership, and more. So we're not going to lock it into instructional leadership. I want to talk about some other things that's going to be on my mind with a chief academic officer, a superintendent, and a former superintendent. So we are, again, Dr. Eric Alfonso, Dr. Erica Johnson, and Dr. Pierrette. I may be mispronouncing her name. I know her, but I call her Dr. Finney from Alexandria City, Virginia. Make sure that you tune in to not just me, but the family, the Fantastic Four, every Saturday and Sunday, starting with Sean Hurd at 10 o'clock. These are Facebook Live times, 10 o'clock Eastern time, followed by Create and Educate with Dr. Shakirah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30 Eastern time, followed by AP and New Principals Academy, 10:55. And then over to Sunday, Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno, the PGP podcast. 6 o'clock Eastern time, Facebook Live, all of us, Facebook and YouTube, right? Make sure that you get a copy of the new book. It ain't new no more, but it's it's coming up on a year in December. But get yourself a copy of this. AP, I'm going to say AP New Principals Academy. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Most important book I've ever written. So get yourself a copy of that. I'm gonna keep it on the screen. Just to remind you, subscribe to the AP New Principals Academy YouTube channel. 24,600 subscribers. We're working on 700 now, so 24,700. We almost there. So make sure you subscribe that way, and then hit the notification bell, and then that way you'll know when I go live, which is 10:55 every Saturday on this particular channel. I actually have I got 4 channels out here, but I only talk about this one. I got 4 channels. Check out Principal Kefele Speaks when you get a chance. You might want to see some of my keynote clips and all that kind of stuff. So Principal Kefele Speaks. I don't really mess with that channel a lot. It's got like almost 6,000 subscribers, but so someone might say, well, that's a lot of people. Yeah, but I don't talk about it much, but it's there. It's there. And then visit principalkefele.com for additional resources. And then finally, your diet, your exercise, and your virus precautions. I hear that there's some super bug out here. I need to read up on it. So make sure that you are staying on top of things. Other than that, I'm here in Houston, y'all. I'm at the National Literacy Institute mega conference here in the what they call this section, the Galleria, right? The Galleria section here in Houston. So I'm getting ready to do a keynote in a half hour. I'll be on the stage talking to the folks. I'm talking leadership. So I'm not talking to everybody here. I'm talking to the folks in leadership. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm on a plane, man. I'll be home tonight in my bed, right? Watching football all day tomorrow. And then back to work, right? So but it is what it is, right? So I appreciate y'all. So look here. I was on let me just say this one thing. Y'all know I always got that like that end of the session message. Let me just say this to you. I was on I visit groups. I'm not gonna mention any group, Facebook groups, but there's this group, and the folks are just talking about how tired they are, how worn out they are, how burnt out they are. I ain't mad at you. I'm really not. I understand it because I did it for 14 years. So I wouldn't sit here and tell you, otherwise. I get it. But I will tell you this. Dr. Miller talked a great deal today about preserving yourselves, right? She talked a great deal about caring for yourselves. So I will say, if you didn't process that fully, the beauty is these are all recorded, right? So go back and watch it again. To be tired, I get it. I was tired too. To be worn out, I get it. I was worn out too. To be burnt out, I was on the brink of it, right? It's I get it, and quite frankly, these are things I deal with as when you live on airplanes, when you're flying 150,000 miles a year, right? Just the flights alone wear you out. But when you land, then you got to take a shuttle to a rental car agency unless or facility, unless it's in the airport, then you can just walk over. Then you got to drive. Some drives are 15 minutes. Some drives are 30 minutes. Some drives are an hour. Some drives are 2 hours. Some drives are 3 hours when you're in those remote rural school districts that are nowhere near an airport. Then, so you get to the hotel, it's midnight, ain't nowhere to eat, ain't no Uber Eat places open. So now you grab a bag of potato chips and call it a night with some water, and then that's it. But it's 12, it's 1 o'clock, it's 2 o'clock. You got to get up at 5 or 6, so you get no sleep. But then you're doing a 6-hour seminar, and that's those people paying you good, so you're expected to bring the fire, right? So I'm saying all that to say I don't do what you do anymore, but I am in a space that I'll just say it, that can kill you, right? Right? That can really bring you down. I'm in that space. So anything about self-care, I'm going to process it. Anything I preach self-care, I preach self-preservation, but I'm in a line of work that requires me to fly. I can drive to Virginia, but I can't drive to Los Angeles, right? I can't drive to Atlanta. I can drive to Maryland. I can drive to Pennsylvania, but I can't drive to Detroit, right? I can't drive to Minneapolis. I can't drive to Montana. I can't drive to Texas, right? So, and I mean, one could say, well, can you take a train? Yeah, if I build in 2 days, right? But if I do that, then what about my schedule, right? So I'm in a weird space because of the travel, right? But we do what we can do to preserve ourselves, to take care of ourselves. So with that said, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I'll see y'all next Saturday for week 290 at 10:55.